Welcome back to the Realizations podcast with Kathleen and Scott. Today, we will be diving into a deeper realization of a common human life experience, which is the phenomenon of aging. The process of aging could be understood as the life cycle from being a baby at birth and transitioning through puberty into adolescence and eventually old age. Now, a more intricate understanding of aging would be defined as something natural or a progressive time related deterioration of physiological functions over time, leading to the decline in physical and mental capacity, increased vulnerability to disease, and ultimately death. Whoa, I know. I often use the term realization because it reminds me of a feeling I would associate to the moment I suddenly have a new realization due to a deeper observation of my reality. I feel like that is when we come to learn and discover more about ourselves as humans. Realizations are common grounds to connect with others on a different level. They always feel the most raw and vulnerable. A new perspective of this life unfolds as a thought shifts its typical pattern. It's like a dive into the unspoken world of the unseen. The term realization is actually defined as the act of becoming fully aware of something as a fact or starting to understand a situation. When I searched what the purpose of a realization was, it was described as something that fosters compassion, connection, and an unyielding urge to make a positive impact on the world around us. A realization can also be a moment of achieving something you planned to do or hoped for. So, the ability to realize something is so beautiful, and that is what I seek to create on this podcasting platform, a space to openly discuss realizations that allow connection and vulnerability anyone can connect with. That being said, quick story time. So, I vividly remember the first time I became aware of myself as a little girl. I was like around the age of 6 or 7 when I disassociated while staring directly deep into my eyes through the mirror at home in my parents' room. I remember it being a very weird and pivotal time as many changes were happening behind the scenes in my life. My parents were in the process of separating, and this new realization of self unfolded. A strange feeling indeed. So, after remembering this memory, I was reminded of a book I was reading last year. It was like 30-year-old ancient psychological book I still obsessively think about till today. The book explored concepts surrounding the inferiority complex and its roots and how it manifests in humans. Very, very interesting. One chapter of the book implied that memories of our childhood, or at least how we remember it to be, is not entirely true in its nature. As a child, we tend to see things through a colorful, refracted lens of the true reality. Everything is unknown, imaginative, and boundless. So, as we reflect on these moments as adults, we need to remember that what we remember may not actually be how we remember it. Got it? Okay. I know that perspective sounds like it contradicts me saying, I vividly remember this experience, and though that is my true reflection of it, the climate of the memory cannot fully be encapsulated because it is not as fresh. Now, the fact that it is there shows that it did happen. However, the extent of it is unknown. I mean, look, I could be remembering everything vividly and in its most accurate form, or I could be completely wrong in my recollection. Now, I'm not trying to downplay my memory of this moment in my life. We are simply observing, exploring, and analyzing the makeup of the realization I had objectively through a range of perspectives. And it truly is deeper. Maybe there's a similar experience you encountered and remember like I do. This pivotal disassociation in the mirror made me realize that I will not be here or look the same forever. The realization of the paradox of aging revealed itself to me and stared at me dead in the eyes through the mirror. Nothing was the same after that day. Okay, you might want to buckle in for the story because we're about to get deep. Something I often ponder on is death. I'd like to call it a concept of interest and something I am deeply curious about. I've always questioned it and have read countless books about death, the afterlife, and myths about heaven and hell. Being a curious seeker has often led me to places I've felt afterwards. Maybe I was better off not knowing, as the burden of too much knowledge weighed on my shoulders and mind at night. Though death was something I was curious about, it truly did scare me, and I think always just wanting to know more about it was why I was so obsessed with it essentially. And it was something I was definitely exposed to a little bit more often in my last few years as a teenager, as I had lost many of my loved ones. Something I believe we can all relate to as humans is grief and like the experience of losing a loved one. But that is a topic for another day for sure, okay? Do let me know in the comments if that is something you would be interested in. It is more of a deeper topic, but it is about my realizations about death and all that I have learned about the afterlife. I'd love to dive into certain misconceptions and realities of death, heaven, hell, and everything in between. I often allude these types of thought patterns and passion about life and death that I have to my awareness as a mortal being. Aging is a strange experience, and that is exactly what we'll be diving into today: the paradoxical journey of aging, the bold, the beautiful, and the ugly. I know someone who writes a letter about her present self to her future self every year on her birthday. She observes her mind, her desires, and fears toward the future as she gets older, encapsulating the realness of each year so beautifully. I honestly hope she decides to publish it one day. She is an amazing writer. It's during these moments of uncertainty and the expression thereof where I realize that growing up is actually not that bad. Many times I've impatiently looked forward to the days I would turn 20 and what life would look like then, in the same way I look forward to my 20 somethings with so much fear and excitement. Regardless of your age, something we can all relate to is the unpredictability of life. Later in the episode, we will discuss a few ways I have adjusted to the negative effects of aging and how you too can be inspired through the art of living. New fears about the unknown have been unlocked, and every year we are faced with having to deal with life and adapt to its shifts in time, because that is what aging is essentially: the reaction of our bodies to the progression of time. As much as today's reflection of beauty standards, luxury, and aesthetic promotes anti aging and anti wrinkling gimmicks that are overconsumed in the market, aging cannot be avoided. I've come to the acceptance that someday I'm going to be old and wrinkly and maybe look way older and different than I do now. But it's nothing to run away from because it was bound to happen. And at some point, naturally, if the lifespan of an individual is not suddenly cut short, they will be slowly transitioning into a span in their time of their life. Every day is a slow journey through the phenomenon of aging. It's like metamorphosis. At times, I'm overly concerned about what the future may hold or thinking about how I will die, but I'm also somewhat content and equally appreciative of where I am at now and where I will be then. My faith has often been a pillar of strength during tumultuous times, for I know wherever I end up, so it was meant to be, surrendering what is out of my control and focusing on what is in my control. I was researching a few of the emotional, mental, and social aspects of aging, as it has been quite extensively studied for many years through various faculties of discipline, including science and psychology. And an interesting psychosocial theory of aging I came across included Erik Erikson's 8 stages of psychosocial development from 1950, where he proposed that human aging and development functioned through the basis of a predetermined and genetically influenced understanding of personality across these stages. Each stage would present a unique challenge or developmental task that is psychosocial in nature, enforcing an interaction between the ego identity and social environment. If a person does not fully resolve a stage in a positive manner, it may hinder their ability to deal with the impending challenges one will face at later stages in life. Therefore, the progression of the individual through the psychosocial crisis is particularly determined by their success or lack thereof in addressing the tasks at each stage. So these stages, or how Erikson describes it, psychosocial crises, are moments in every human's life where one must make a choice that stems from a problem that needs to be resolved. For example, at the first stages of life, one either learns trust or mistrust. And so if a person does not learn trust, it automatically becomes a psychosocial crisis, and one may find it more difficult to develop a sense of trust and form positive, healthy relationships during adult years. If you are curious about the chapter of Erikson's theory of aging and the in-depth analysis of the specific steps, I will leave a link below in the description for you to check out. Maybe you'll end up realizing something new about yourself and the developmental span of aging on human life. How we deal with life's adversities will direct us to a path of success or lack thereof. A few ways I began adjusting to what I call the negative effects to aging is by 1. Minding my business. One of the best lessons my parents have taught me in life is to mind my own business. It is about ignoring what other people are doing compared to you or what they have to say about you. But minding your own business does not mean neglecting those who need you. It is creating a clear boundary between yourself as a distinguished individual and another being from involving yourself in matters that have nothing to do with you and are 9 out of 10 times beyond your control. Involving oneself in matters of such lead to undesirable and often stressful situations that could have been avoided had one just minded their business. Knowing where to draw the line and focusing your energy when it comes to others is important. The last thing you want to do is waste your life focusing on others, and before you open your eyes, it's all over and time has been lost. I love Stoic philosophy. A few of my favorite philosophers are Epictetus, Seneca, Aristotle, Plato, and a lot of the virtues emphasized in their teachings unravel the key to the art of living, with self-control, clarity, acceptance, and perseverance, especially during the difficult days where I need to be humbled by the truth that it can all possibly end tomorrow. So I have to be present and live in every moment fully as myself. There are many ways to express oneself. Another way I started to shift my life into a direction of true expression was through focusing on specific interests and pursuits by doing things I enjoy, like filming. I love writing, singing, painting, vibing out peacefully in nature, reading, and learning about things I'm quizzical about. It could be makeup, cars, plants, gardening, or other creative outlets like pottery. With the expansion of the digital world, the possibilities of hobbies and things to do are literally endless. Finding a type of movement to engage in at least once a day, whether it is going for a walk, or one of my favorites is my yoga stretching practice. It has quickly become one of my favorite times of the day. So maybe you can try going to the gym, surfing, or even learning how to swim. According to the Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion, daily activity, and please note when I say daily activity and not specifically exercise, is said to lower the risk of diseases, lowers pain, and improves one's overall well-being. So without a doubt, at least a 10 to 15 minute stroll or walk per day is definitely said to improve the negative effects of aging. Last but not least, the key to defeating bad vibes is good company, okay? Laughter is definitely a medicine I would be prescribing to all my patients if I was a general doctor. Good company is so crucial as it opens oneself up to a life full of hilarious memories and moments. Your circle would have to be a true reflection of you to bring out the best in life, but it doesn't always have to be in the form of another individual. Finding good company within yourself is something I realize is mandatory to the process of self-actualization. When you are able to be in your own company, satisfied. Now, I'm not implying that one should always be alone or constantly be around people. I think that too much of both does have its consequences, but it should be about finding a balance that works for you. We're not the same and we all have our unique and different preferences when it comes to these things, but this is simply just an outline of what it could look like for you and a guideline to finding the splendiferousness of life by being your truest self. These were simply just a few gems that I've picked up along the way in life, and I think they are very important constructs to being a human. So find and stick with the little things in life that make you feel the most fulfilled and unlock epic memories that make life truly worth living. Remember, not every moment is going to be sunshine and rainbows, but we can at least look toward the future without fear of what could possibly be near. Embrace every moment, compliment that stranger, be kinder to yourself, and spread some love in the world. That is all for this episode. I hope this discussion has simplified the complexities of living and uncovered the charm and the paradoxical phenomenon of aging, and that it has left you inspired and more informed about the various stages. As always, I loved being able to travel to the destination that is the journey. Thank you for sticking around until the very end. As for me, Kathleen Scott, signing out. I will see you in the next episode.